Hey there! Welcome to the Distracted Librarians podcast. We're your friendly neighborhood bookworms with a penchant for all things pop culture.
Picture this as our digital campfire, where we dive into our latest obsessions, analyze our favorite distractions, and rediscover the joy of reading.
Whether you're a media enthusiast, a book lover, or just need a break from the daily grind, you've come to the right spot.
So kick back, relax, and get delightfully distracted with us.
Hey everybody! On this episode of Distracted Librarians, we're going to talk about the best books and music of 2025. Did you guys have like a great year of books?
Sort of.
Sort of? Okay.
So like, this will come up in the looking forward episode too, but my main like reading goal for this year was to read more of my like print books, traditionally published books.
Okay.
And I had middling results on that one.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I read about the same number of books that I did last year, but it was a like 70% to 30% spread of where the 30 is the trad pub.
Okay.
And that was not the goal.
Okay. Okay. So how many books did you read this year?
I'm at 107.
Okay.
I think.
That's pretty good. Killian, how was your year?
I am still on this like multi-year journey of getting back to reading the way I used to. I used to be a like over 100 books a year person. And then the last few years, and a couple of years before that too, have been just the ability to focus and sit down and read or just have time to read has been much less of a thing in my life. So we're working our way back up. I set a goal of reading 35 books this year. Okay. And I did pass that already. So
Yay.
I didn't up my goal on Goodreads, which I have a tendency to do. Where I'll be like, oh, I met it. I can make it higher and get that. I'm like, no, I can just be further past it, and that's okay.
Sure.
I will only amend my goal if it's still within like August.
Right. I mean, there's no sense doing it in December, right?
If it happens in the first like 2/3, maybe 3/4 of the year, then it's, oh, okay, I didn't set an appropriate goal.
Sure.
If it's beyond that, like within the last 3 or 4 months of the year, then it's cool. I've hit the goal.
Yeah. I had a pretty good year of books. I had a not so awesome year in terms of media and stuff, which we're going to talk about a little bit, I think. And, specifically talking about stuff that came out in 2025, right? Mm-hmm. So that is very limiting because sometimes, like, for example, I watched The Lighthouse the other day, which is a really awesome movie with Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. Is it Pattinson?
The Twilight Kid?
Yeah, the Twilight Kid. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to put that on my list of what I'm going to, talk about. And then I looked at it, I'm like, this came out in 2019. What on earth? And how did that, like it wasn't even on my radar that it was a thing. It just seemed like it just came out. So anyway, it makes things difficult sometimes, like putting the actual year on it.
Well, I know I don't watch things as they come out a lot of the time too. So it'll be years before I get into something that everyone else has been watching for something. Like, everyone's talking about Stranger Things right now. I have not watched any of it.
Okay.
I might have watched part of season 1. I don't remember.
Okay.
So I tend to watch things really late anyway, and I just don't watch a lot of normal media. We've talked about that on here before. I am a dropout in YouTube kind of girl, and it's just not the same. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't talk about it the same way. But books and video games are kind of where I'm at.
Okay. But that's good.
Yeah.
That works too. Totally. All right. Well, we're going to talk about some of the books that we really enjoyed that came out in 2025. Drew, did you want to start?
Sure. So one of my books is called The Fall by Tal Bauer. It is a self-published thing. He is one of my like peak authors. And a couple of years ago, he put on his Facebook group that he was going to need to step away from writing and step away from like interacting with readers, anything like that, for undisclosed life reasons.
Oh, geez.
totally cool.
Okay.
Of course, people deserve their own lives.
Yeah.
The man crops back up in, I want to say June. No, it was just in September.
Okay.
With, hey, thanks for holding down the fort while I was gone. Here's an 800-page book
Whoa.
that I've been working on in secret.
Wait, so how long was he under hiatus?
A year and a half, 2 years, somewhere in there.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then just popped back up like, hey, here's this thing. I'm releasing it in 6 days.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Set the, like, world of self-published romances a tizzy. Mm-hmm. It was so good. It is a hockey player. He starts off super, super depressed. He doesn't have a support system. And then he goes into a match and gets a concussion and wakes up a year later. And he has, been living his life, but has no memory of it.
Oh, weird.
But when he does wake up, he is in a different city, playing for a different team, with someone in his bed who loves him and a good support system among the team. And he's like, okay, cool. I have no idea how I did this over the last year.
Well, I wish I could go to sleep and wake up and everything was absolutely smashing. I mean, my life is pretty good, but I just gotta say, like, a hockey star in a new place with somebody that loves you, etc. Like, that sounds pretty golden.
Yeah.
Great job, unconscious you.
So he's like, in his head, he wakes up at like 3 a.m. on whatever day it is and starts like putting all the pieces together. And he's like, okay, well, I can't tell anyone anything about the fact that I've just realized where I am because I can't give any of this up.
Yeah.
I need to experience this. And so it's him like putting the pieces together. There's a big like weirdly pseudo-metaphysical twist. It doesn't end up actually being, but
Okay.
that I can't really talk more past.
Yeah.
Because experiencing that for the first time was like one of the first times in the last few years that I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Okay.
Changed my life.
So an 800-page romance novel about hockey.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Could have been 900. Could have also been 500.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Okay.
I wouldn't have been mad at either. I might have been a little mad at 900.
Maybe. Okay. All right. Cool. What was the name of that one again?
It was called The Fall.
The Fall. Okay. Wow. I mean, you disappear and then come back with that. Pretty great.
So good.
Awesome. All right, Killian, what's yours?
So this was one of my things I'm looking forward to in 2025 at the start of the year. And I am happy to come back and be able to talk about it as one of the best because it means it lived up to all that hype.
Yes.
Especially because it is one that had been delayed a few times. And so I was just very much like, give me the book. And that's A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping, which is by Sangu Mandana, who also wrote Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, which I loved. So I was a little like, okay, we've got another same kind of vibes. I'm very hyped about this. What if it's not good? Or what if it's not as good? And then I didn't have to worry about it because it was better. And that's saying something. I loved Very Secret Society. So for me to come back and then say, yeah, and I liked this one more, huge. It is about Sarah Swan, who is like super powerful witch, and then brings her, I think it's her great aunt, back from the dead and loses most of her power.
Oh, no.
And gets exiled from her guild. So it kind of like messes up her whole trajectory in life. So she becomes this very like, you see a lot of grumpy sunshine romances. This is kind of like grumpy and also grumpy, just different grumpies.
Okay.
And it's very cute and very fun, but there's also, it's cozy, but there are some stakes to the things going on. And there is this wonderful assortment of side characters who are all weird and zany in their own ways. And I just loved it all so much. I just kept reading it. As soon as I got around to picking it up, I was just like, okay, and we're reading, and I'm doing nothing else until I finish this book.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah.
Do you think it's set up for a sequel?
I don't think so.
Okay.
A lot of people were looking at this to be something of a sequel to Very Secret Society, and I don't think either of them is intended to be. They're supposed to be more
standalone,
a moment in time type of things.
Cool.
But I wouldn't say no.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, the book that I enjoyed this year was The Black Slide by J.W. Acker. This is a middle grade kids book. Well, it might be a little bit upper middle grade, I would say. And the reason for that is going to become very clear. So it is a horror book. And I mean, it is a horror book. Like, this is like not even playing around. And I kind of love that because I think kids need horror too. Anyway, getting into how this story goes. There is a slide that shows up on the playground at this boy's school. His name is Griffin. And he's always in this classroom that what does he call it? I can't remember. Anyway, he's always in this classroom that always looks out onto the playground. And he thinks of it as like torture because he's like, oh, I just want to be outside so bad. Why am I stuck in this classroom? Well, he notices this slide appears, and it's an ominous looking slide. It's not a normal looking slide, like one that you might want to go down. It has like black leatherish sort of outsides. They look like bat wings, and it looks spooky. And then he sees somebody. No, he's actually the first person to go down it. Okay, he gets asked to go down the slide by a bully. The bully is like, I will leave you alone. I will not beat you up anymore if you go down the slide. So Griffin's like, okay, I'm going to go down the slide. He goes down the slide and endures this horrific torture, to which it seems almost never ending, like months have gone by.
Oh my God.
And then he is ejected out the bottom of this slide with a broken arm. Okay. Fast forward into the future, he goes back to school, and he's got his eye on the slide because he's like, there's something wrong with this slide.
You think?
Yeah, do you think? And
No, it's probably fine.
He starts noticing like other children from school muttering to themselves and going up the slide. Only they go down the slide and never come back again. So he decides he's going to go after, because like his best friend is going down the slide, and he gets dragged down the slide with her. And he ends up in this hellscape, literal hellscape. It is like the Hellraiser movies. It is insane. There are these people that live there with like weird bald heads, and they've got very strange features, and everything is about pain and torture. Like, they can't even leave a room. Like, I'm going to open the door and go through the door. Nope, it's not like that. They have to stand in a torture ray for however long, and then they have to pass that to get into the next room. And that's just like a start of what this place is like. It's insane.
Incredible. This
It's
is
insane.
middle grade?
This is, well, so one of my coworkers read the book and was like, yeah, this isn't going to be for like the fourth grader.
No.
So we put it under Y fiction instead of J fiction, which just means that it's for like the upper end of middle grade. Anyway, I highly recommend this book, even for grown-ups. Like, I know several adults that have read it, and they're like, wow, this is amazing. So good job on The Black Slide.
J.W. Acker also wrote a couple of nonfiction books that we've purchased for the library.
Oh, okay.
Cursed Objects and United States of Cryptids.
Okay.
Where it's a litany of exactly that, cursed objects or U.S. cryptids.
Okay.
Going on tours around the country and talking about those things, or, you know, the urban legends around some of the world's most famous cursed objects.
Sure.
Really interesting.
That sounds really cool. Anyway, he's sort of like Clive Barker in a way, if you guys have read Clive Barker. And Clive Barker does have kids' books also, which is interesting. But yeah, like if you're really into horror, this is probably a good one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of descents into hell,
Tell me more.
the next one I grabbed was Catabasis,
Okay.
however you pronounce it, by R.F. Kuang.
Okay.
Love her. She wrote Babel, Yellowface, a lot of really, really good books. But this book is 2 graduate students in a magical university whose grad professor has just passed away through a failed magic experiment.
Okay.
And the 2 of them team up to open a portal to hell to go and find him to get letters of recommendation for their next path in life.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
Because without the sign off of their theses, they can't
Yeah.
continue on in
Oh
their
my goodness.
their lives and what they wanted their lives to be.
Wow.
And it's straight up. Emily would have loved it.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Because it is the circles of hell. You go through each one in stages.
So very Dante's Inferno.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
And they are research students. So they went down with their detailed notes on all of the various depictions of hell and are trying to navigate themselves based on what the previous people have said.
Wow.
Really fascinating.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Intricately researched.
Yeah. That sounds great.
A lot of fun.
Very cool.
I don't have anything horrifying on my list.
That's okay, because I'm going to add some more horror.
This has been my cozy era, and I'm okay with that. So
We're okay with it too, Killian.
sometimes things just need to be
Soft.
fun. So the next book is actually a 3-book series that I read in a rather quick succession that was only broken up by the fact that the 3rd one hadn't come out yet. And that is the Adenishire series by Jay Penner. It starts with a Fellowship of Bakers and Magic, which is very Dungeons and Dragons meets the Great British Bake Off. And it's very cool. It's very just fantasy creatures and baking, and there's a little bit of stuff going on. And you meet all of these characters in the first book, and then the next books in the series focus on a different character from that group, and their romance and their life and their interests, and so you get to learn more about these side characters, and that's so what I get into. I love a good side character that we then get to learn more about and see them as a main character, and still see the main characters that we've loved as side characters doing other things. So the first 3 books of it, like I said, are out. The one that just came out is A Fellowship of Games and Fables, and that is a very winter holiday-esque one. So it's very good for this time of year. But there's 2 others that have been written that just haven't been traditionally published yet, and I am going to need matching copies of these for the ones that I have. So I do need to. I need that release date because I can't find it anywhere.
Oh,
but
goodness.
I'm very excited to keep reading within that world.
Cool. That sounds great. I got an advanced reader copy of Joe Hill's new book,
Oh, wow.
and then I wasn't allowed to talk to anybody about it, which is like a whole thing. But anyway, so it did come out this year. It is called King Sorrow. Joe Hill is a mastermind, and I love him. We've talked extensively about Joe Hill on this podcast.
He's come up from time to time.
Yeah, from time to time. This book was really interesting. It is a chonky book. And I think that there was a point when I was reading like the ebook version of it where I was like, oh, this is wrapping up. And then it didn't, I mean, no, not even close to wrapping up. Like, it was like, oh, wait, now there's 35 more things that you have to, consider. Anyway, so this is about a character named Arthur Oakes, and he is a student at Rackham College in Maine. Of course, Maine.
As always.
So he is madly in love with this woman named Gwen, and is shattered when a local drug dealer and her partner corner him in one of the worst crimes that he can, corner him into one of the worst crimes he can imagine. So let me just do a little backstory. His mother is in prison because she's an activist. And when she was planning a peaceful protest, someone got killed and she was blamed for it. So she's in prison. Now, this drug dealer knows that his mother's in prison, and her mother is also in the same prison. So she has like this kind of like this, well, there's influence there, right? Mm-hmm. So she's basically like, you're going to steal this book from the rare book collection at your college, or I'm going to have your mom killed in prison. And he's like, whoa, like, oh my God, this is like the worst thing that could possibly happen, right? Anyway, so he ends up getting this book, not realizing that this book is like made from human skin, et cetera, et cetera. It ends up being a whole thing. He invites his friends to kind of help him get through this situation with this drug dealer. And they're all a very interesting group of people as well. Highly intelligent. Some have a lot of wealth and power. And so there's a lot of comeuppance and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. All right, let's get to King Sorrow. All right, so there's a metaphysical aspect to the story, of course, because it's not Joe Hill unless there's ghosts and goblins and whatever else. They have like this ritual where they bring a dragon to life whose name is King Sorrow. And the whole thing about the dragon is that they have to offer a sacrifice to him every year. And the group of people is like, well, we'll just offer like the worst people in humanity, like this horrible person that killed a bunch of kids at a local elementary school. Sure. We'll just put him up. And so King Sorrow dives in, takes care of business, and usually walks away with other people kind of in tow in the situation. So there's this kind of interesting back thing where like he's dealing with trying to keep his mother safe, mm-hmm. but now he's unleashed this horrible dragon demon onto the world, and they have to keep feeding him like a person. And sometimes the people that they feed him, they don't realize it, but they might have been innocent. And there's a lot of morality issue mm-hmm. and play kind of happening in the story. Anyway, super good. It was very well done. You get to know each one of the characters really, really well, and they all have very severe, like serious issues. Every single one of them has a serious issue. So anyway, I highly recommend King Sorrow.
I do wish you could all have seen the frown on Killian's face when the human skin came up.
Oh, human skin. You're not into human skin, are you?
Under very specific circumstances, sure. Human skin is fine.
All right.
Okay. My third that I brought is called Winging It With You by Chip Pons.
Okay.
It is a contemporary romance where a guy who has been with his partner for 3 years, they decide to sign up for a fictional version of The Amazing Race together.
Okay.
And then in the airport on the way to the starting gate, the partner quits and says he can't do this, and means both the competition and the relationship.
Oh.
Just dumps him in the airport on the way.
Oh, boy. Okay.
So he is drowning his sorrows with margaritas and mozzarella sticks in the Chili's in the airport, as one does. And meets a pilot who was just grounded by his airline for, I think, 3 weeks because he'd been overworking himself and not, following the work-life balance guidelines that you need to, be a pilot and control an entire plane.
Right.
So he signs on to be the partner, and they're gonna the fake date and convince America that they are madly in love.
Oh my goodness.
While just getting to know each other in this really stressful competition circumstance.
Sure. Well, that sounds fun.
Super cute, super fun.
Yeah, that sounds really fun. Cool.
Throw a little bit of levity in, other than Killian's.
It's me going, I have so many, and what do I want to talk about? I'm going to talk about The River Has Roots, because I
love that book.
Really loved this one. And it's so short, and it's so good, and it's so lyrical in the writing.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those things that had a really bizarre connection for me. It is based on the Ballad of the Trois Sisters, which has been retold in several different ways over time. But my first ever exposure to it was in Patricia C. Reed's The Book of Enchantment. She has this short story version, and it's, this pair of sisters. One is jealous of the other, so she kills her, and then her bones get used to make a harp. And the person who makes this harp ends up going and performing at the home of these sisters' family, and the harp then sings what happened to this daughter.
It's pretty great.
It's
wild.
It might have mildly scarred middle school me. I have a really weird relationship with this story because the time I read that, I just went, this is horrific and I hate it, and oh my gosh. So if I had known that this was a retelling of that, would I have read it? I don't know. But I did read it because without having that connotation, it just sounded interesting. It's very based in fairy lore and things like that. And I don't want to say too much because, again, it's only 105 pages. But it is about a pair of sisters who, rather than being hateful and jealous towards one another, have a very strong bond. And it's about how that bond ties them together even through death and things going on, and the things that happen throughout life that can pull people apart. So, like I said, I have a hard time talking about it without giving away too much, but just go read it. It's 105 pages.
And it's really beautifully put together,
and
too.
There's illustrations, and it's lovely.
Nice.
I'm going to pop ahead to some media.
Yeah.
So, have you guys seen the movie Sinners?
Yes.
No.
You did watch it? Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
So good.
It was crazy. I saw the trailer for Sinners and I was like, oh my gosh, this looks really good. This looks like right up my alley.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it was an evening when my husband was away, so I put on my horrific movies and it was perfect, and I really, really loved it. When I realized that the two brothers that were there were they're twins, obviously, but it's just Mr. Jordan. So Sinners is set in 1932 in the Mississippi Delta with Michael B. Jordan as these twin brothers. And they are criminals. They're kind of involved in bootlegging and some other things. Apparently they had a stint in Chicago where they worked with Al Capone or something like that, I believe is what was said. But anyway, they come home to the Mississippi Delta, and they're really interested in having this juke joint put together. So they find a place for it, and they have to deal with rampant racism because it's just the time. But these are powerful men and are not interested in what the KKK has to say to them. It's pretty abundantly clear. So they get the booze and they get the music, and then they invite everybody and they have this crazy party, but then the vampires show up and things get wild. I mean, wild from there, because one person goes outside and the next thing you know, they're a vampire and they're asking to be let in. It's crazy. Yeah, it was enjoyable. I loved it.
Oh, it was a great
time. The music was amazing. Mm-hmm. The characters are just wonderful. And I mean, who doesn't like a vampire flick? So, yeah.
Cool. I'm going to quickly talk about two pieces of media.
Okay.
Because they're both relatively short. Surprise, one is another hockey romance.
Oh my gosh.
The TV show Heated Rivalry. As of recording, only 2 episodes are out. As of episode release, only 4 episodes will be out. It is so good.
Is it?
It is so faithful to the books. The actors are fantastic, both in the roles, but also in the press tour of it. It had this whole grassroots movement behind it because it's a Canadian production.
Okay.
So for the longest time, all of their advertising was, only on Crave, and we'll figure out international release at some point. Who knows? Everyone was scrambling on how to watch it. Mm-hmm. And then about 10 days before it released, they announced, it's actually just going to be streaming on HBO Max as well.
Oh.
So everyone ran to get their HBO accounts. Black Friday was very favorable to us in that sense. The hype around the show is very deserved.
Okay.
It is so much fun. And then the other one that I really loved was the season of Celebrity Traders UK that just happened.
Celebrity Traders?
Yes.
Okay.
So the Traders game format is very similar to Mafia or Werewolf, where you have you have a group of people, but secretly 2 or 3 of them are the evil people of the group. So every day the group votes for who they think might be a traitor or a werewolf or whoever. And then at night, the remaining traitors banish someone from the castle. Obviously one of the faithful in that sense, because the traitors wouldn't banish themselves.
Right.
So you slowly whittle the group down of this like social suspicion game. And when the US does celebrity versions, all of the people who are in it are like gamers. They are people from Survivor and Big Brother and Challenge. And I love that world too. It's one of my main worlds.
Sure.
But the Celebrity Traders UK brought in like comedians and talk show hosts.
Okay, so anybody we know?
Celia Imrie did it.
I'm not familiar. Are you? No.
Tom Daly was in it.
Oh, okay.
Alan Ross
Okay.
was in it. It's a lot of fun, like quintessentially British people. But because they didn't bring in like these heavy gamers who were there for the win,
Right.
and brought in these like lighter personalities, so much fun.
Yeah.
Such a fun game.
Oh, cool. Very nice.
Yeah. Can't recommend enough. Ended up on Peacock
Okay.
for streaming.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, Killian, I know you want to talk about this. Let's do it.
So I brought a video game. The game Tiny Bookshop came out this year, and this is a game that I had been looking forward to. I added it to my Steam wish list the second I heard about it, because the entire premise of this game is that you have left, I don't even remember what it is you've left, but you've decided you're going to go, leave everything behind and open this tiny mobile bookstore in a small seaside town. So as you play, you start with very little to work with. You can only go to one location. You have very little range in terms of shelving. You get your books through like sales in the newspaper. It's all secondhand book sales. So you're buying books from the newspaper, from the flea market to resell in your shop. And you're just, each day you decide what genres you're going to put out. And the customers come and they look and they'll buy things and they'll leave. And sometimes they'll ask for a recommendation, which, that is one of my favorite things about my job. And so I'm okay with it being in this game. And it doesn't feel too much like I'm taking work home. But the really cool thing is when you pick the books to stock, you are picking which genres you put in. And they're big, broad genre categories. You'll have fantasy, you'll have kids, you have crime, drama, classics, fact, and travel. But you have subgenres within that you can't select exactly. So within travel, you also have a lot of like hobby or cookbooks. Within fantasy, you also have science fiction. You have some kids books that you can find them in the fantasy genre, but also in the kids genre, things like that. Drama is plays, but also, YA romances and adult romances and things like that. So when you go into your store and you start making a recommendation, you kind of go through the books and it'll give you the title and a little description. And you didn't know what you were stocking before, so you couldn't stock specific genres. You could only stock the broad categories. But the characters will come in and they'll ask you something. And some of these asks are really contradictory. They're hard to figure out. And sometimes you don't have the right book. But you make a recommendation if you can, or you tell them that you can't. And it's just, you start getting different locations, and you start meeting the people who live in this town. And you get these little individual stories from all these characters, and it's very cool. It uses real books.
Yeah.
So there are some books that were created just for this game, but there's also a lot of real life books that A Wrinkle in Time is in there. I know there's a few manga in there, including Sailor Moon is in there. I I'm just off the top of my head, what is there? There's really recent things like Allie Hazelwood romances, just a bunch of things. So that is really cool. You can kind of get recommendations for yourself as you play. And that's the thing, is the devs for this game set up a Discord server. They've really built a community around the game where it's people, yes, talking about the game and like getting help with things that are like that they're struggling with or things like that, but also just talking about books and giving each other book recommendations. And then the community started going, oh, well, I think this book should be in the game, that book should be in the game. And they eventually opened it up. They created a book council of people to recommend books to be added in the next update, which that's a process that's been ongoing. And in the next update, there will be, I think it's like 1,000 new books going in.
Wow.
Between all of the people who are involved with that. And it's across different languages, so they won't all go into like every version of the game. But it's very cool. It's very cool to have like the community have a say in it like that. And yeah, once that update comes out, keep an eye on the credits for that.
Well, as usual, if any of you audience members have anything that you really loved in 2025, feel free to email us and let us know. We would love to hear what you loved. And that wraps up our list of the best books and media of 2025. Stick around to hear some suggestions from our fellow staff members at BTPL. Also, check out our posts about Distracted Librarians on our website at btpl.org and get more suggestions from staff. And we'll see you next time.
Hi, this is Amanda from the Adult and Teen Services Department. I have 2 books to recommend for my best of 2025. The first is Second Life, Having a Child in the Digital Age by Amanda Hess. This book is for someone who is a parent, especially a mother, and or someone who is interested in how the internet is weird. And we all know it's so weird. Amanda Hess managed to pull apart the dissonant nature of becoming a mother and then being barraged by companies marketing to you. So you have, on the one hand, this very physical, sacred, special, and very personal event of being pregnant and having a child. And on the other hand, you have maternity clothes companies and apps and companies trying to sell you all sorts of stuff in a way that really feels like the two things clash. There's a lot of funny moments, such as when instead of comparing a growing fetus to a piece of fruit, which is very classic for a pregnant mom, you have companies marketing objects to you and comparing, say, your growing fetus to a hip pack, and here's a link to where you can buy it for $99.95. Many moments like that, and all the while they're collecting your information, including really personal medical data, especially if you are using an app. And there's a lot of complicated feelings around it, and I think Amanda Hess did a great job of detailing those and unpacking those. So highly recommend. That is a 2025 publication. My other recommendation is Nobody Ever Told Me Anything by Rachel Stake Finley. This is actually a 2022 memoir. Rachel Stake Finley is a blogger from the early aughts, from the time of when Tumblr was in its sort of emergence. And she tells about her childhood in Florida when she was 11 years old and her mother neglected and then unfortunately abandoned her, and she was squatting in a Florida vacation rental. She had a ton of perseverance as a young kid, pretty much taking care of herself. And obviously she has a lot of trauma that she sort of unpacks and talks about how she can then go on and raise herself in a lot of ways and become an adult, and how she navigated adulthood without that solid background or foundation as a child. The thing that I loved about this, it's not, even though there's a lot of hardship, it's not super trauma heavy. Really, where I think Rachel Finley excels is she uses plain language. You aren't going to this memoir thinking like, oh, I can tell this person has an MFA. No, this is really from a blogger standpoint. And I think it was really refreshing to me after reading so many memoirs that were heavy in metaphor and heavy in description and all these things. I thought that this was really a beautiful, succinct, and plainly stated but not simple memoir. So nobody ever told me anything. I recommend them both, and check them out.
Hi, I'm Lyndon from administration, and I'm an administrative assistant. Last year, I was so excited to participate and share my opinion of the things I enjoyed from that year, and then I learned that I hadn't actually read any books written that year. And I made it one of my New Year's resolutions to read a couple books that had been published that year. So I'm excited to share what I encountered this year. One of the books I found almost by happenstance is Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang. This is by Kylie Lee Baker, and it was a perfect storm of horror, mystery, a little bit of gore, and also it raised a lot of awareness for me of things that people of Chinese culture experience in this country. But it's available in large print. It's in the traditional book form, and it's also available on audio through Hoopla, which is how I experienced it. This book is creepy, it's suspenseful. You learn a lot about hungry ghosts, which is a cultural phenomena in Asia that's pretty fascinating. And I was really surprised by it and highly recommend checking it out. The antithesis of that book, but equally good, was Raising Hare by Chloe Dalton, which is a memoir of a woman in England who literally raised a wild hare. And it's a gentle book and thoughtful with interesting observations, not only of a wild creature, but also the changing landscape and how that relates to the environment and how creatures need to be protected and all life needs to be protected. But it's just so thoughtful and interesting. It's the kind of book you can tuck into bed with and share with your friends. The book that I also encountered this year that I have been recommending to everyone is The Book of Alchemy by Suleika Jawad. And she also wrote a wonderful memoir. I think it's called Between Two Kingdoms. But The Book of Alchemy is 100 very short essays by people that are very well known and people you may not have heard of. And they are from all walks of life, from countries all over the world, all ages. And each of the essays is only a page or two. But at the end of each essay is a gentle prompt to promote journaling. Now, you could enjoy this as a book that you just read as a quick thing before you settle in, but I have been using it as a journaling prompt, and it's been a very interesting exercise. There are times when I want to throw the book across the room because the prompts are rather difficult and not what I want to do, and other times I have found them literally very perspective changing, and it's just been very enjoyable, and I highly recommend The Book of Alchemy. I want to do a couple shout outs to the other things that I encountered this year, which is Sunrise on the Reaping, which is the latest in the Mockingbird. Shoot. Wow, I'm completely blanking. Mockingjay, thank you. The Mockingjay series, which I also really love, by Suzanne Collins. And this latest edition, which is the 5th, comes from the perspective of Hamish Abernathy, and it's available on Hoopla and is wonderful in that format on audio. And the book, The Catch by Yrsa Daley, is an interesting fiction with multiple narrators that is, again, unsettling, and you never know quite what will happen, and was a good read. Last year, I mostly recommended music, and my highlight album of the year was Wet Leg's latest release, Moisturizer. Thanks so much for listening.
Hi, this is Heather. I am a page in youth services. I'm the one that I'm one of the ones that shelve the books. And the book I would like to give a shout out to this year is My Kitchen Year by Ruth Rochelle. If I botched that, I apologize. And I want to shout out to it because it kind of got me through Thanksgiving. My mom's been ill, so I wound up doing a lot or most of the cooking. And while I like to bake and I like to eat, don't know if I'm such a cook, but her recipe for corn muffins and a simple recipe for Brussels sprouts helped make Thanksgiving not bad. I had to amend the Brussels sprout recipe to use cabbage, but I still had a framework to cook something with, so I enjoyed that. And what I like about this book, besides the fact that it got me through, is that it's part cookbook, part memoir. She was also going through a not great time in her life, and cooking and baking and food in general got her through. Everybody eats because we can't photosynthesize just yet, but up until the last few months, I've never really thought about all the cooking and the prepping that goes with it, and kind of following her, going through the seasons, cooking and enjoying it. I don't know if I say I'm enjoying all this right now, but the cooking and cooking with somebody and food being not just the eating itself, but the process of cooking, the process of finding things, that's been helpful right now. So yes, My Kitchen Year, which I'm also reading for our cookbook book club. Shout out to that. And I hope one day to actually own this book for myself. But yes, My Kitchen Year. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Distracted Librarians.
Many thanks to BCTV for their support in recording, editing, and releasing this podcast, and to the Friends of the Library for sponsoring closed captioning on every episode.
If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to reach out to us at distracted@btpl.org.
Until then, keep those pages turning and those screens lighting up. We'll catch you in the next episode.
The views and opinions expressed in the Distracted Librarians podcast do not necessarily reflect those of Bloomfield Township Public Library, Bloomfield Community Television, the Birmingham Area Cable Board, or its producers or production staff.